Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It's so
Good.
great to see each one of you here to our sixth annual Prostate Cancer Equity Program, founded by Dr. Faina Stern of the AdMeTech Foundation, hosted this evening by Martha's Vineyard, NAACP. You have two MCs this evening, yours truly, me, Dr. Lorna Chambers Andrade, and Dr. Robert Tankard. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a retired professor of pre-med and nursing education. I'm the former chair of health of the New England area region for NAACP, as well as our local branch of the NAACP. This evening, I am so honored to have our Methodist minister, Dr. Joanne Huss, to give our opening prayer. Well, she will be doctor soon enough, that's for sure.
God willing. God
I'm
willing.
the United Methodist Church of Martha's Vineyard. So if you'd be so kind.
Let us pray. Loving Creator, we thank you for the blessing of another day, for the technology that allows us to gather even as we are apart, and for the wisdom, compassion, and experience that we will share with one another tonight. We ask that you inspire all of us gathered here this evening to speak a healing and hope-filled word, to listen with open hearts, and to feel your presence with us, leading us and guiding us today and always. May we come away from this gathering with renewed strength, clearer purpose, and unshakable hope. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you the other co-moderator, Dr. Robert Tankard. He's the host of Tank Talk here on the Vineyard and those who can stream. He's also the director of our veteran services here on Martha's Vineyard. He's a past coach of the our sports teams at the high school and a former principal of one of our schools. And at this time, I'm going to let him share some great information about the veterans and what he's doing with them presently. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Lorna. She gave my introduction away, but if you never came to the Vineyard before and you asked for Dr. Robert Tankard, they'd look at you kind of funny. But if you said, I need to speak to Coach Tankard, then they say, aha, I know who that guy is. Yeah, I've been on the island for a long period of time, involved in a lot of fun organizations on the island. I was on the school committee chair for 15 years. I was 25 years as a trustee to the Martha's Vineyard Bank. But presently, I'm the Martha's Vineyard Veterans Outreach Advocate. And in the present time, I'm in the process of working with IHT, which is Island Housing Trust, and COVIC, which is the Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center on the Cape, in building 12 veteran units, housing units on the Vineyard in Oak Bluffs. We've received the land from the town of Oak Bluffs, and we're in the process of getting permits. The island has roughly 900 veterans. I service about 350 that I email every week, at least twice a week. But I really serve about 100 veterans that I'm in contact with on a daily basis. And we provide transportation, we provide food, housing, medical, psychological. We provide anything, and we have the VSO officer who I work with, who provides the veterans with different paperwork, or if they need certain things, the VFA rather, the VA can give them, they provide that. So, you know, we're doing a great thing, and at the present time, we are fundraising. We had a couple of fundraisers recently that brought in some money for the veteran housing, and I'm going to tell you something. We all had to live in the woods at one time, but these guys don't need to live in the woods now, and they're living in the woods. They do not need to live in the woods now. So we're making a push to put at least 12 units so they can come out, at least 12 that come out. And that's me.
Thank you, Bob, for bringing us up to date on what you're doing here on the island. Now I'll introduce to you Maria Rougeau. Maria is an RN, and Marie has been working here on the island for over 30 years between the hospital and Windermere Nursing and Rehabilitational Center. She's also worked with prostate cancer survivors. And at this time, Marie and I will both talk to you about the mission of the AdMeTech Foundation and also how it is collaborating with the NAACP, but also Marie would like to give the Indigenous land acknowledgement at this time. Marie.
Good evening, everybody. The Martha's Vineyard branch of the NAACP acknowledges Wampanoag people as the traditional stewards of this island and the enduring relationship that exists between them and their traditional territory. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from their territory and other atrocities connected with colonization. We honor and respect the many diverse indigenous people connected to our country, and our acknowledgement is but one action we can take to correct the historical accounts and government practices that have erased indigenous people's history and culture.
Great, Marie. Now, do you want to, let's talk about AdMeTech Foundation a little bit to bring everybody up to speed about it. So let's go into the mission.
The mission of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program is to save lives and deliver high quality care to any man aged 40 and older who lives in Massachusetts. The priority focuses on Black, Hispanic, and Latino men who are at greater risk of prostate cancer, delayed diagnosis, poor quality care, and death. The Prostate Cancer Program has been launched by AdMeTech in collaboration with the Mass General Brigham and University of Massachusetts, the NAACP New England Area Conference, Latino Health Insurance Program, and other clinical and community organizations. It expedites access to the leading state experts who use the most advanced approaches to prevention, screening, diagnosis, and treatment available today. They support men during every step of their medical journey. And the rationale and background. Prostate cancer, striking in as many as 1 in 8 American men, is the most common and the second most lethal male malignancy. Prostate cancer is a leading health disparity. Compared to white men, Black, including Hispanic men, are 2.5 times more likely to die, even though early detection saves lives, are at a higher risk of unnecessary procedures, and are less likely to get a life-saving treatment. And anybody that wants any more information should go to the website, www.admetech.org.
Marie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can I ask Dr. Lorna or anybody? You know, one of the things I was thinking of when I did a program with Dr. Stern last week, and one of the questions I forgot to ask her was, is this being taught in high school health classes to prepare young men to start looking and preparing for this particular treatment as they get older? Now, I know the top senior is 18, 19 years old, but
Right.
the age 40 sneaks up on you pretty quick.
Right.
And if they understand what they need to do at a younger age, that they might be ready or preparing themselves to take that action at the age of 40, especially African American, Latinos, and Spanish individuals.
You proposed a wonderful question, and Dr. Fay will answer that question for you at the end. We want to get through a lot of the information, and then we're going to do a Q&A at the end, okay?
All right.
Just hold on. We won't forget that question.
No problem.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to share with you about the AdMeTech Foundation's role is that the leaders and the staff members do not provide or bill for health services. They stand ready to provide any educational, administrative, and logistic support to men. their primary care doctors or caregivers may require, any including working with medical professionals to expedite a visit with an expert, and assisting with any follow-up and next steps as needed. And so you'll hear more about that when she presents as well. At this time, I would like to introduce the president of our branch of the NAACP here on Martha's Vineyard, President Tony Kaufman. You're on.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It is a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I find myself in the position of learning, of being educated. And as I was thinking about what I would say as a greeting this evening, I thought about my grandmother, who said that I would learn something new every day. And I have added to that, if you pay attention. So, so I'm really glad to be here. And as Lorna and Marie know, I have had personal health issues this past month in October. And it made me think about, as I was thinking about this evening, it made me think about those. I stayed in close contact with doctors while I was going through COVID, and this is the first time that I have had it. So it was all new to me, and it brought me to my knees. So I stayed in contact with my doctors, and then ended up over the weekend with a UTI. So once again, trying to stay on top of health issues, which are not typical for me. But there was a time in my life where I didn't have medical coverage, and I did not go to the doctors. So things that I immediately went to the doctors with both health situations, but there was a time in my life when I did not have coverage. And that made me think about this program and how often I am sure that there are men of color who do not have coverage, any kind of health insurance. And as we know, as we have learned through the years, people of color are very hesitant to seek medical care. So that makes this program even more important. And I'm very happy that we have two very committed and dedicated advocates in Dr. Lorna Andrade and Maria Rujo, who keep us informed of health initiatives that we need to pay attention to in our community. We are blessed to have them leading the way and directing us when it is necessary. And because we do have funds that were secured by these two lovely women to so that we could invest and sponsor medical initiatives on the island, we have been able to give toward different initiatives. As I said, we're getting ready to look at giving money to the cancer support group on the island. We have helped with transportation for elders as well. And all of that is because we have two advocates who pay attention, and that's what is needed, to the health initiatives and the needs of our community on Martha's Vineyard. So I'm very pleased and very hopeful that there is going to be information, as my grandmother said, that I will learn tonight that I did not know before. So I'm very pleased to be with you tonight, and I look forward to the presentations that will be occurring. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, President Tony.
All right.
At this time, I'm turning it over to you, Dr. Bob.
Okay, okay. Listen. These two gentlemen that I'm going to introduce when they first came into office, they came to Tank Talk. And over the years, over the last 35, 40 years since I've been doing this program, I've introduced politicians before, but I have never interviewed two politicians that have been so committed to Martha's Vineyard than these two. Now, behind the scenes, I call them Starchy and Hutch. Because they're so great. And I'd like to introduce you to Massachusetts Senator Julian Sayre, Cape and Islands, Assistant Majority Whip and Chairman, Joint Committee of Public Health. His partner, Representative Dylan Fernandez, Barnstable, Dukes County, and Nantucket, Vice Chair, Joint Committee on Environmental and Natural Resources. These two gentlemen, they have come to the rescue to Vineyarders on the drop of a pin. All you had to do is call them or call their administrative assistant, and they're there. You can count on them. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't know when the next elections are coming up, but everybody sitting on this committee right now needs to vote for these two guys right here, because you're not going to find two better people. You guys are on, and thank you for coming.
Wow. Wow. My goodness. I gotta live up to that introduction. That was something. I gotta take you everywhere with me, Coach. That was amazing. You know how to hype people up. I can see why you're such a successful coach. But it's a real honor to be with you guys again. You know, I've hopped on here a number of years to talk about this issue, and I think Senator Sayre, he's got another engagement. He might have a video. I know he wishes he could be here. I'd like to know which one's Starsky and which one's Hutch too, so we could break that. But it's a pleasure to be with you guys, and a real honor. President Tony Kaufman's remarks were, I love the ring to that, by the way. President Tony Kaufman, you know, we're spot on. I think our health is the most important thing that we have. We've all gone through or will go through some really severe and challenging health issues in our lives. And I've certainly been through my own, and it's really important that we have a support system in place and a government in place that's there to take care of us. And so that's why I'm so pleased to continue to support the funding for AdMeTech. I think over the past, since FY20, we've gotten around just under $4 million for this research and funding to support African American men with prostate cancer. And I've shared this before, but my father had prostate cancer. And Hispanic men too. And his one of his grandparents is Puerto Rican, higher probability demographic, and so he got it when he was really young. He got it in his late 40s, pretty young to be in cancer. And so I don't remember how old I was, but I was pretty young finding out about it, and so young that it really freaked me out, because you just hear the word cancer and that just evokes so much, especially in a young boy's mind. It was a really scary time for me, and fortunately, if you catch it early, it's something that is very, very treatable. But we need to have the education out there. We need to have the knowledge for people to get screened and to go to the doctor. And for men, there's kind of a culture out there of I'll just suck it up, or I won't go get something checked out. And I think we, as a society, need to really kind of break that down a bit and talk to men about getting checked out, making sure that they are okay, and getting them the access to care that is so important and so life-saving, because it ended up saving, early treatment ended up saving my own father on this issue. And I'm going to be getting checked coming up in a few years now, because he got it so early, and I might be predisposed based upon my own genetics as well. So, this is a really severe issue. we're going to keep funding it. We're going to make sure it's funded in every budget. More money should be going towards this so that we can make sure we save lives. And the other thing, and while I'm talking to this group, the other thing, this is an issue that impacts disproportionately impacts Black, Hispanic men, right? And then there are other issues out there. I know this is a little tangential, impact the Black community just because of racism. This commission that has been set up around maternal mortality rates for Black women in the state of Massachusetts and in this country that the legislature is really keen on. That has nothing to do with genetics. That's just inherent racism, been pervasive for too long. Both medical, both facing Black, Hispanic populations. So we're going to keep plugging away on these things. Thank you for having me, and say it's an honor to be with you. So thank you.
Bob, before you go on, I just wanted to let Dylan know I'm tackling the maternal child health mortality February, the first Saturday in February. So I'll be calling you to help us out with that.
And if I can be helpful, getting someone from the commission to join the call, I'm happy to do that.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think Tom had a film from Sear.
Good evening. I'm Julian Sear. I have the honor of representing Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, and much of Cape Cod in the Massachusetts Senate. And I also am the Senate chair of the Joint Committee on Public Health and have been a long time health policy wonk and health equity advocate. And it's so good to be with the Martha's Vineyard NAACP once again for our annual event on prostate cancer. I want to also give a shout out and thanks to the AdMeTech Foundation. Gosh, I've been working with them since when I was a mid-level bureaucrat at the Department of Public Health. And they've been doing great advocacy work all along the way. Prostate cancer is something that touches so many men. My dad Adrian, is a survivor of prostate cancer. My uncle is a survivor of prostate cancer. My grandfather had prostate cancer. I fully expect I'm sort of due probably for prostate cancer at some point if I'm fortunate to live long enough. And for my dad, he was really fortunate. He had a very proactive primary care physician who looked at his numbers, said, "Hey, this looks a little elevated. Let's get this checked out." And he was able to get treatment. In his case, it was radiation, and his cancer is in remission. But for too many men, particularly too many Black men, they are not getting access to care. And when you look at health disparities and health inequities across our society, across our healthcare system, really alarmingly, prostate cancer actually has one of the largest gaps in outcomes from Black men compared to their white peers. Unfortunately, Black men are 51% more likely to die of prostate cancer than white men. And they're also 60% more likely to have prostate cancer. And so what y'all are doing tonight and talking about prostate cancer, getting men to think about making sure they talk. First of all, they go to the doctor. Men are not great at going to the doctor, we know from the data. First, getting to the doctor, getting that screening, and getting into early treatment and early care is absolutely essential. So what y'all are doing tonight is very, very good upstream public health work. I feel really honored to get to represent this really special community. We're working on some legislation. There's some bills related to prostate cancer before the Joint Committee on Public Health. And so we're going to keep at this. But I think, when you look at, the health inequities that we have in this state, Massachusetts is, arguably among the top 2 or 3 most wealthy states per capita in the country. If Massachusetts was its own nation, we'd be among the wealthier countries in the world. And yet we continue to see alarming gaps in health outcomes based on race and ethnicity. And that is completely unacceptable. And so whether it's prostate cancer or asthma or COPD or a whole host of diseases and conditions, we've got to do better in Massachusetts. I'm hopeful the legislature as well will take up health equity legislation later in this session, and you can count on me to be a partner with all of you and a fierce, loud advocate to narrow and then end these persistent health disparities, starting with prostate cancer. So thank you all for your time tonight. It's an honor to be with you, and I look forward to doing this next year. Take care.
Ronald Roberts is one of our wonderful Islanders and a patient right now. So he's going to share some of his experiences with you.
Yeah, I wish I could thank everybody that's helped me in this journey, because today I've had a hard day, but it's been so many, because Dr. Ronnie who's helped me, and you have helped me, and Dr. Sheehan, and people up at AdMeTech that I had contacted, and Marie's been there in the background. It was a rough journey about 3 months ago. I almost didn't make it. The prostate cancer had gone to about 4 areas of my body, and it hit me, and it hit me hard. And thanks to the guidance and the people up at Dana-Farber and some at Mass General and a lot of people out there, I'm doing pretty good. So I got a couple of more chemos to do, and I'll be on the road to doing radiation. But otherwise, other than this week, I've been feeling good. I'll tell you one thing that's hurt in trying to get off island and travel to the doctors is the boat situation with the cancellations. And that's something that really needs to be addressed. I got a friend tonight that has eye problems. It's got to take the 8:30 boat tonight because that's the only thing available. Everything's gotten canceled before and breakdowns, and somebody really needs to look into what's going on. I have to leave the island the day before my treatment so that I know I can be there. I can't rely on the boat, and I'm coming back late next week after the treatment. So I didn't plan on that when I started this 3 months ago. It's only been 3 months too. I think I started up at Dana-Farber July 31st. And it's amazing how much they've done up there for me. Just 1 week of treatment, I felt like 100% better. And when I come back to the island, Dr. Ronnie has been helping me. Thank goodness, once again, she has over the years. And by the way, I was originally diagnosed with prostate cancer in around 2010, but at the same time I had Lyme disease, babesiosis, and it took a while to figure out, but relapsing polyhydritis. And I had doctors that were saying I didn't have, 3 of 4, I should say. And I got into some real battles, and that's what kept me from trying to continue with the treatments for the prostate cancer. I tried in 2011 with chemo and finally gave up. I had so many other battles going on in my body. And then after that, with the doctors, I was pretty standoffish until this hit. And fortunately, I'm in Massachusetts too, because we have a lot available here in Boston. And I'm grateful for that.
Hey, Ronald, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you a veteran?
No.
I deal with the veterans.
I know.
And you're talking about transportation on the island, right? I got veterans that run into the same problems that you have with the boat.
Yeah.
They send me a copy of their appointment with their doctor. I send that right to the registry over in Falmouth.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
On the next boat.
Yeah, I'm doing that. But you know what? It's the cancellations of the boats that worry you. When you have an appointment that if you miss that appointment, you may not be able to go back, for 4 weeks. It could just throw everything off. Because right now,
I understand that.
Yeah. But no, I'm doing something like that. They've been good about that. I go through the doctors and they send a letter and I get
good
that way.
Good. If I can help you, just let me know.
If it was a reliable system, I wouldn't have brought it up. But unfortunately, the boats aren't reliable.
No, they're not.
Yeah. One other thing, the thing of hereditary and DNA. My father passed away from prostate cancer. So when I found I had it, That's all. I inherited it, and I had the DNA test done, and to my surprise, it's not one of the genes that that triggered. I think with mine it was environmental, but and stress. But I've been exposed to a lot, and doing the Lyme disease really pushed me over the edge. But I had heart blockage and all from that. Anybody have any questions or anything I can't answer? But
You may have a few for Dr. Stern a little bit
Yeah.
later. She'll be presenting very soon.
okay.
So, Ronald, we thank you very much
Thank
for
you, Ronald.
sharing with us.
I thank you for doing this, and I'm just glad to be here. You know.
Dr. Andrade and Mr.
Yeah.
Roberts, thank you very much for trusting us and giving us an opportunity to help.
Well,
And to
you've been a
connect
big
with some
help.
of the best, and to connect with some of the best doctors through our prostate cancer equity program. Thank you for trusting us. I
Yeah, well,
wish you came to us earlier, Mr. Roberts.
I know, but like I said, I had such a bad experience in 2010 and 11 with doctors. I just, it was horrifying. And but you gave me some good advice back in July. That's all I can say. That's how I made it, this far and went the route I did.
Okay, Ron,
glad.
thank you. So at this time, we're going to have another presentation testimonial from John Freeman. He's one of my little brothers. I call him my little brother. And he's definitely one of our great faithfuls at the United Methodist Church. And John has a lot that he can share with you because he's been dealing with prostate cancer for a long time. John Freeman, you're on.
Thank you, big sister. And before I get started, Brother Ron, you and I really should get together for coffee or something sometime.
I was thinking the same thing.
And Lorna asked me to share a little music, and I'm going to try something here. It's a Hohner Goliath model, which is no longer made, but this is a song I wrote in about 1985 or 86 called Old Friends, and it never had verses because our old friends are gone and their verses are in our hearts. So they're for friends who've passed on. I'm going to give her a shot. I'm thinking about what I was going to say, and I'm going to change some things. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in January of 2010. I grew up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Some of you may have heard of that. It's an all-white community. My dad was a physician. My two brothers were physicians. My sister was a PhD nursing professor. I used to bowl against and win money from my dad's doctor buddies. I never had to worry about healthcare growing up. We had all the professional courtesy, and even going into college until my dad died, I never really much had to worry about it. Unlike most of the people in this country. But I had a physician who was not on the ball, but fortunately retired or was retired. I don't know which. But my next physician picked up on some other severe things I had and started treating them. But in January of 2010, he did a PSA test, and my PSA was 60 until he thumped my prostate. And then I felt everything and couldn't urinate, and just every part of my body hurt all of a sudden. Well, in a couple of weeks, my PSA rose to 80. And he was pretty sure I had prostate cancer. This doctor was on the ball about things. Well, fairly soon I had some scans and that infamous biopsy, and it showed I had a stage 4 cancer with a Gleason 8. I heard my urologist say, this is what my ADHD self heard, is that the average life expectancy for men like me was around 30 months. That's what I heard. That's not quite what he said. He said it was old information, blah, blah, blah. But that's what I heard. And so I thought, uh-oh. But because of where I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, because of the good health care I had as a Michigan teacher, I was able to get some incredibly good care that I might not have received otherwise. And I was enrolled in a study that put me on docetaxel and some other stuff in addition to the normal Lupron and stuff. So I'm not sure why that hadn't occurred to you before. but that the doxy with the Lupron worked wonders, and was so successful they stopped the study and made it available. And that worked for pretty good for several years. My PSA dropped from 80 to nearly 0 and stayed there for a while. And while I was taking the treatment, I was able the day after a treatment to go down to West Virginia with my daughter. I was barely inconvenienced at that time. I've also learned that don't listen to your urologist. You can't see this, that there's a gap there between my teeth, because in 2012, I knew things were starting to come back, and I had some dental work, and I declined to have a tooth that had been removed, was broken, replaced with a fake tooth, because I figured, why waste the money for that when I wouldn't be around? And that place blank as a reminder that don't give up hope. And I shared that with other guys. And here I am 11 years after that with the gap. I can't whistle anymore, but I'm still here. I'm just looking here. We moved to Martha's Vineyard in 10 years ago. I didn't have any a provider here. We finally got one, and my PSA had risen back to 12. And I was able to get in contact with the folks at the infusion center. It was just, I guess, going in, and they put me in touch with the folks at MGH. And they put me on a different trial with a drug, I think was Zytiga. And my PSA dropped dramatically and worked fairly well for a good number of years until March of 2020, when they stopped it because my disease had progressed again. They put me on another drug that worked for about a year. And then in April 2021, I began 6 cycles of radium-223 infusions, which greatly reduced my pain until it didn't. And, then for about a year or two, I was on just my Lupron. But December of last year until July of this year, I was on 10 cycles of docetaxel again. And it did some good. I think it slowed the progression, but it didn't cure anything. But here's something that makes me feel guilty. And the nurse practitioner in the practice I'm involved in told me not to feel guilty. I'm receiving treatments of radioactive, it's Pluvicto. Have any of you heard of that? It's a new relatively newly approved treatment, and extremely expensive. And if I did not have the health care, the insurance and everything that I have, I couldn't have afforded the first treatment. And I don't think that's fair. My nurse practitioner said, don't feel guilty. You're getting it. Don't feel guilty. But I do in a way, because why am I getting it? Other guys need it too, but I've had my battle. I don't fear death. I believe in God. I don't fear death, and he's got some reason I'm still around. I don't know, but I've been a pretty lucky guy these years. I'm still here. I never expected to be. And many guys with as progressed as mine was at the beginning wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. And so one of my ministries has been the music and dance. Here's the harmonica that we can't hear, and helping other guys. But another one has been talking to guys and their families who have prostate cancer. And in most cases, I've been able to say, mine was worse than yours is ever going to get right from the get-go. And I'm still here. There is hope. There is always hope until we exhale our last breath. And knowing that there are people that are working behind the scenes to help my other brothers get the care they need, and lobbying for that is hugely important. And I'm as thankful for that as I am for my own treatment. I don't know, will I be here for next year? I don't know. Are any of us going to be here? I have hope, and hope does matter. Knowing that people are caring about you, taking care of you, and that there's always something down the road that could be available is a blessing. And Ron, I sure hope we're both around for a long time.
Yeah, we're here for a reason.
Thank you so much, John. That was wonderful testimony. Truly wonderful. So I'm turning it back over to you.
Yes. Listen, I just want to tell everybody, this is my 3rd interview with Dr. Stern, and we had a great interview last week. And we had a Zoom, but it was like she was right there. And it wasn't a question that I had asked her that she couldn't ask me about prostate. And, you know, one of the questions I didn't ask was the question I asked tonight. Why isn't it taught in high school to young men so that they can be aware of what they're going to face and begin to, at some point in their life, begin to prepare for this? So this young lady is right on the ball, and we want to thank you. First of all, thank you for doing the work that you're doing. It's great, and thank you for, you know, providing a service that's saving a lot of young men, young fathers, grandfathers, brothers, uncles. So without any further ado, Dr. Stern.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tankard, Dr. Andrade. Thank you so much for years, Martha's Vineyard, NAACP, now President Kaufman. Thank you so much for years of partnership. Thank you very much for trusting us. I was so moved when Mr. Roberts called me for help, and he was very clear. He was referred by Dr. Andrade, and of course, the minute he said it was Dr. Andrade, he got, you know, the best we could provide for him. And it is a privilege in many ways for us at AdMeTech Foundation and for our team to be able to help people like Mr. Roberts, to connect. We connected Mr. Roberts with the best care that is available today in Massachusetts and the world at Dana-Farber. Thanks to our partner at Massena Brigham, Dr. Kwok-Ding Trinh. You might not have met Dr. Trinh, Mr. Roberts, but it was Dr. Trinh who helped us connect you with Dana-Farber experts. I also would like to acknowledge our team, AdMeTech team, Thomas Satam, who made this event possible, Emma Coyard. Emma is our manager of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program, and our education coordinator, Craig McClay. Craig, do you mind raising your hand? So this is the team, Emma, Thomas, and Craig. This is our team who helps many men who are coming to us like Mr. Roberts did for help. We've had in the past so many challenges with PowerPoint presentation that as a matter of policy, we started creating videos. Emma, do you mind initiating my video presentation? My name is Faina Stern, and I would like to express my thanks to Martha's Vineyard and NAACP for the long-term partnership and for the opportunity to take part in this event. I'm a physician and president of the AdMeTech Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading regional, national, and global programs in prostate cancer education, research, public awareness, advocacy, and clinical care equity. The main topic of my presentation is our Prostate Cancer Equity Program and its mission to bring the cutting-edge advances in patient care to Massachusetts men and eliminate health disparities. Prostate Cancer Equity Program is an integral part of the AdMeTech's ongoing statewide program in prostate cancer that created a Massachusetts model of national leadership in public awareness, medical education, and research. Our primary focus is on high-risk men, Black, Hispanic, and Latino individuals, and all men with family history of prostate cancer and increasing age, 50 and older. I'd like to express my gratitude to the members of the Martha's Vineyard delegation to the State House, particularly Senator Julian Serr and Representative Dylan Fernandez, who have been champions of this program. For public awareness and education, our messaging centered on the importance of screening and early detection critical for saving lives. Early detection is particularly important for Black, including Hispanic men, who are 2.5 times more likely to die compared to white men. With early detection of prostate cancer, every man is alive in 5 years. In sharp contrast, with late diagnosis, when cancer is spread to other organs, only 28% of men remain alive during the same period of time. The centerpiece of AdMeTech's medical education is annual global summit on precision diagnosis and treatment of prostate cancer. Our summit has been recognized as a seminal event in shaping the state-of-the-art and future vision for patient care. Our summit brings together the key international experts representing every clinical expertise to review the best emerging clinical practices. The latest 7th annual conference took place only a few weeks ago. This educational event showed a rapid advances in patient care. In screening, our summit supports clinical practice guidelines recommended by the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, consisting of over 28 leading cancer hospitals and their experts. High-risk men, including Black men, and any individuals with family history of prostate cancer are recommended to initiate discussions with their doctors about screening with PSA blood test at the age of 40. Average risk men should start screening at the age of 45. The first or baseline screening test in younger men is important for identifying men at risk of lethal prostate cancer long-term, over 10 years. In diagnostics, we have seen emergence of very accurate non-invasive tools, such as blood, urine, and saliva analysis for molecular and genetic markers, and advanced imaging, including ultrasound, MRI, molecular imaging. This non-invasive diagnostics highlighted the importance of PSA screening and shifted past concerns about screening into a dustbin of history. For example, this diagnostic test can determine which specific individual man has an increased risk of life-threatening, rapidly progressing prostate cancer, improve early detection critical for saving lives, reduce unnecessary procedures such as biopsies and treatment, and optimize selection of personalized precision care for each man, including careful observation or active surveillance, minimally invasive, what we call focal interventions, when only a tumor or a part of the prostate is treated, or radical interventions when the entire prostate is treated with or without systemic drugs. High-risk individuals, including Black men, carry higher risk of both mortality and unnecessary procedures. Consequently, it is critical for them to have access to precision diagnostics that determine for each individual man if he should or should not have invasive biopsy or treatment, and what options in clinical care are best for him. Unfortunately, in Massachusetts, compared to white men, Black men are less likely to have precision diagnostics such as advanced imaging, molecular or genetic testing, and to undergo life-saving treatment. Prior to undergoing invasive biopsy or treatment, it is important for each man to discuss with his doctor if any testing is available to determine if these procedures are actually needed, and if yes, what kind of options would work best for him. For example, in this slide, MRI shows prostate cancer lesions and guides biopsy needles with precision. AdMeTech has led research, development, and large-scale implementation of prostate MRI since 1998. In 2013, Massachusetts legislature funded clinical trial of prostate MRI, which produced groundbreaking data that were presented at the summit in 2016. By early 2017, about 6 months later, MRI was recommended as the new standard of patient care prior to biopsy and prior to treatment. Our summit highlighted the importance of MRI in Black men who are likely to have lesions in the front part of the prostate that are difficult to find by physical exam or standard blind biopsies performed without accurate imaging. In men with prostate cancer, there are two pillars of the current diagnostics: MRI and genetics. While MRI shows cancer location and local spread or stage, genetic analysis of cancer tissue reveals underlying biology and probability of progression. Emerging data indicate the importance of genetic testing for high-risk men, Black men in particular, for selecting the most effective and appropriate treatment. With this precision diagnostics, we can now accurately determine if each individual has a slow-growing, harmless disease and needs only careful observation or minimally invasive procedures, or an aggressive prostate cancer requiring immediate life-saving treatment. More recently, molecular imaging has been shown to play an important role in staging of prostate cancer, including presence of metastatic disease and detecting return of prostate cancer after treatment. For example, molecular imaging with PSMA has become available at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute since August 2021. On the left, right here, we can see a regular bone scan that shows no metastatic disease. On the right, however, we have molecular imaging that demonstrates extensive metastasis on the same patient. This information is important for selecting appropriate treatment. We are proud to have led research and development of molecular imaging since 2001. Our summit concluded that equal access to high-quality care is the key factor in improving patient outcomes for all men and eliminating health disparities in Black men. It is particularly important now with so many novel diagnostic and therapeutic approaches, ensuring high-quality, personalized patient care. Without equal access to these advances in patient care, we will see a widening gap in inequalities, including survival and mortality. Consequently, AdMeTech launched the Prostate Cancer Equity Program in Massachusetts in collaboration with Mass General Brigham, UMass, and other clinical institutions, with the mission to save lives and deliver high-quality care. Supporting organizations include Latino Health Insurance Program and NAACP New England Area Conference, with their multiple branches located across the state. Any Massachusetts man age 40 and older can take part in this program. Our priority focus is on Black, Hispanic, and Latino men who are at high risk of prostate cancer, delayed diagnosis, poor quality care, and death. Our goal is to expedite access to leading experts who use the most advanced approaches to screening, diagnosis, and treatment available today, and to support men every step of their medical journey. This program helps men to find an expert for the initial or a second opinion, in-person or virtual visits. We believe that in Massachusetts, with its leading hospitals and universal access to care, our prostate cancer equity program will be able to eliminate health disparities. Experts of the prostate cancer equity program can address any questions about prostate health, from assessing an individual healthy man's personal risk of cancer to informing men about all available options before and after screening, biopsies, and treatment. We are committed to supporting men during every step of their medical journey to ensure that no man is left behind or struggling alone. To achieve this goal, we created a streamlined VIP-style process of patient referral and care, reflecting how doctors involved in this program take care of our families and friends. This process consists of three essential components. AdMeTech Foundation's team members collect basic information and match individual patient needs with the appropriate state's experts for clinical care. A clinical organization designates a patient navigator to expedite a medical visit and related needs, including scheduling, registration, transportation, and financial assistance if needed. If an expert recommends any next steps, such as, for example, further diagnostic evaluation or treatment, AdMeTech's team and patient navigator work with men on the appropriate follow-up. I'd like to share with you a few recent examples of how prostate cancer equity program has been making a difference. This is a case of a Black man with a history of prostate cancer who is currently being treated. On May 15, his doctor informed him that his scheduled treatment could not be provided due to problems with the insurance coverage. He got upset and shared his situation with a leader of the Men of Color Health Awareness Program, MOCA, our community partner in Springfield. On late afternoon of Friday, right before the Memorial Weekend, he contacted us and appealed for help. Our primary goal was to restore his treatment as soon as possible. And we immediately reached out to Dr. Mitchell Sokolov and his team at UMass and secured their support. On May 30th, right after Memorial Day, UMass Urology provided guidance to this man how to address his insurance issues. By Friday the same week, on June 2nd, the insurance issue had been resolved, and the appointment with Dr. Sokolov was scheduled at the earliest opportunity in early July to resume his treatment. The following Monday, MOCA leader heard what happened and asked for a second opinion for his own urologic health issue and received an appointment with a leading urologic expert within a few days of his request. This is a story of a Black man in his mid-50s who was referred to us about several months ago in mid-May by Cambridge NAACP. This man was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer. He got alarmed when his urologist informed him that the best care will not be available to him due to his limited insurance. We connected him right away with the patient navigator at the Mass General Brigham. She obtained a referral from his primary care physician and secured approval from his insurance. By June 6, this man saw Dr. Adam Feldman, a leading clinical expert and one of our featured physicians. Dr. Feldman described various treatment options, but recommended surgery, which was performed in mid-August. Emma Coyer serves as a manager of the Prostate Cancer Equity Program. Emma is assisted by Erin Roberts and other members of the AdMeTech Foundation's team. When you come to us, Emma will work with you, our team, Mass General Brigham, and other clinical partners to expedite medical visits and address any needs you may have. Our team may not be able to right every social wrong that cannot be resolved by federal or state government, or provide perfect solutions for every man. And yet, we are committed to doing our best and making sure men are not left behind or struggling alone. If you have any questions or need assistance, please contact Emma by phone 617-523-3535 or by email coordinator@admetechfoundation.org. Thank you for your attention.
That was Stella, as always, Dr. Stern. And I know many people have many questions, but there's a few more people I want you all to hear from, and then we'll go into a Q&A session. How's that? Okay. I'll give you a minute to get your breath, Dr. Stern. So at this time, I'd like to introduce one of our leading island retired MDs who's working extremely hard, even though he's retired, and that is medical doctor Robert Lakowski, who is on the board of trustees of the University of Vermont Health Network and vice chair of the board of directors of Healthy Aging Martha's Vineyard and treasurer of the Duke County Health Council. You're on.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lorna. And when chatting with Lorna ahead of this session, this is the first one of these I've been on. I said, "Boy, I'm really looking forward to it because there's so much I'd like to learn." And this session certainly has not disappointed me in all of its aspects. And I do have some questions that I'll go to hold some of those till a little bit later. We have the discussion, but I wanted to make just a couple of observations. I'm a retired internist, primary care doc, and also boarded in geriatrics, and I have that type of perspective, and I actually remember when the PSA's test was developed. I was in the audience, actually. The fellow was giving the presentation about the test. There is a lesson here though to share. That is that things have evolved massively over the last several decades, and actually over the last number of years, the last decade, enormous advances and potential advances in the detection, and particularly the treatment of prostate cancer. Dr. Stern's presentation there, that just so much going on that it is dizzying to even professionals in the field, and unless you're right in the heart of being a prostate cancer expert. So the lessons to me, and there is another lesson here, and I'll get another observation I wanted to make, and that is that we've talked about the high, we call it prevalence of prostate cancer in among men. I don't think that most men realize actually how prevalent it is. There have been autopsy studies over the years that look at prostates in people who have passed away and hunt around to see if there are any cancer cells. And it turns out that when you're young, if you were to unfortunately die, there's still some prostate cancer that you find, but it's in a relatively small number of folks. As you get older, as people are older, that is quite different. And somewhere around, if you get into the 7th and 8th decade, about 50% of people, if you did a biopsy of their prostate, would have prostate cancer. So that's like a lot. Okay, that's like half the men around. So the good news is unlike our neighbors who have been really suffered a lot with prostate cancer and benefited enormously from the appropriate therapy, there's a lot of prostate cancer out there that doesn't seem to cause people much in the way of trouble. Out the troublesome problems, and from the non-troublesome problems is no mean feat. So how do you do that? Well, experts like Dr. Stern and the foundation, they can be an enormous help, because it is very, very difficult to figure out, is treatment, what treatment is best, or maybe you're one of the lucky people where there's no treatment. Very difficult, and to discern that. And so normal mortals, you need really a partner, a clinician who will listen to you, and experts, has good access to experts who are right up in the field, because this is a field that's changing rapidly. This whole effort of outreach is so important, and the outreach needs to be into with people like Dr. Stern and the other professionals that you work with, and the experts that we're blessed with in this part of the world, because this is complicated. It is not simple. You don't just open this up and know quite what to do. That's not the way this works. The one other thing I wanted to mention, and I'll get to some of the questions later on, is a word that we haven't, it's been described, but it hasn't put this name on it. And for the public who's like to watch this and it's being recorded, there are words: shared medical decision making. And those are, if you look at any of the guidelines that are out there, from the American Urologic Association, the National public health folks who put out guidelines all over the place, they all emphasize shared medical decision making. And what that means is that the people, patients, and it should be afforded a conversation with people who are recommending care and hear about the evidence in ways that they can understand, and then along with their physician, make the decision that seems to be right for them. Not for the public in general, but for them as individuals. That's a big deal in, I think, all aspects of medicine, but particularly in the complicated world of prostate cancer. So shared medical decision making, that's clinical evidence, a doctor to talk to, access to specialists, and involve your family to figure out what's best for oneself. That is absolutely a sine qua non from the standpoint that I see this field. With that, I'm going to stop because there are other folks to speak, and I'm going to listen and keep learning. So thank you very much for having me here. It's been a real education for me. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Bob. Okay. All right, moving along. Now we're going to go back, and I'm going to introduce you to another RN, but a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Ronnie DeLuz, who's been doing naturopathic studies here and research with her clients and patients here on the island for many years now. So Dr. Ronnie, are you ready to present? You've been hearing a lot tonight.
Yeah, hello. I was just so amazed. I'm hoping that I can join the future sessions. I apologize that I've missed out on so many, but for those of you who do not know me, I've traveled the country for many years working with celebrities, a program called 21-Day Diet Detox and Innovative Treatments. I retire and God has a sense of humor, and now I have more patients that I can handle. And I believe so much in holistic, integrative, personalized medicine. I've seen so many miracles happen with that. And I want to explain to you that with prostate, and I have a group of prostate patients right now that I'm taking care of. And I realized in the last 6 to 8 months after COVID happened, that we are struggling with something that we have never seen in this country in many, many years, and that's mental health. Mental health has been destroying a lot of our chronic illness patients' lives. And we have to take into consideration the prostate cancer patient is at the top of the list. When I started taking care of prostate, I realized that there was so many integrative types of problems that we're not speaking about. And the person who presents with prostate cancer is whole body medicine. That's why integrative, holistic, naturopaths, all of those healers need to come together and coordinate the patient's care. Now, we do have a problem, and the problem is that a lot of times insurance won't pay, right? So I do the best that I can with that particular problem. And what are we talking about? What are they not paying for? Well, sometimes when we first of all, there's 5 different subjects that I want to present tonight. Number 1, I want to talk about the coordination of working with the oncologist, working with the radiologist, working with the family, working with a new type of therapist, which is now called let's fix their erectile dysfunction, their bladder, their leaking bladder. So we have about 5 different. So we bring in that emotional detox professional, because I found that when I am dealing with some of the patients, the emotions not only increased with the epinephrine, increasing with the cortisol, increasing with these hormones that are causing a lot of stress, we're losing them. And just listening to Ronald today, tonight, his biggest problem was, how do I get to my treatments when I can't even get on the ferry? Okay, that's just one problem that they're presenting when they come. So I have to have a whole team of healers in order to present this stability so they can even get to their conventional treatment. Some of the supplements that they're dealing with, believe it or not, give them brain fog. They forget. They even get to the point where they're so nauseous and they're not eating, so they're weak. And we're sending them on a ferry to go to conventional treatments. So there's a lot of issues that we're dealing with that I am seeing in my office. So some of the treatments that we deal with is we try to support them with their other chronic illness. Like for an example, they just don't have prostate cancer. Some of them have what we consider the 5 highs. What is the 5 highs? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, high sugar, high weight, and high stress. So if we don't have whole body medicine dealing with that, we're going to lose them. The type of patients that I see that we're not being successful with are those who we are not taking into consideration all of the modalities, all of the treatments to keep them whole. So we do medical nutrition with them, over 10, 12 vials, because we now have to look at the situation as it's not just the prostate cancer. What else is going on? We have to fix that. We have to make sure their vitamin D levels are high. We have to make sure that any of these specific types of minerals, the potassium, the sodium, are not going to win the battle unless we become coordinated. Just them understanding what medical nutrition is a process. I have to deal with the nutritionists. I have to deal with what's going on in their homes, who's cooking. And then we get into some other things, which is called whole body innovative holistic treatments that we can coordinate with some of the other conventional treatments. Like it has to be coordinated with whether they're doing chemotherapy or radiation. Some of these treatments are really helping, like photobiomodulation has helped a lot of our treatments because it helps to ablate some of the pathogens out of the body so they're not so nauseous after the chemotherapy, so that they don't have what's called brain fog. So these are some of the treatments that we deal with. The other thing that we deal with is that we work with the medical doctors, because sometimes we have to be able to put them on a high profile treatment that keeps their immune system at the levels that we need. The medical doctors are starting now to put them on to sustain their immune system so that they can even continue to do the chemotherapy and radiation. So all of these things, thank goodness, is now becoming at an increase, and people are starting to get it now. Patients are now working with their doctors and saying, well, what about this? Can I do this? Can I eat this? Will this go with the chemotherapy that I'm taking? And that's what we're doing. And it's literally just whole body medicine. It's not just medical nutrition, but it's a lot of other things. And I'm hoping that people will have a lot more questions in that area so that we can pursue how do we all work together to help this patient succeed.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sure you'll have some questions coming your way as well. I'd like to move it along. Having been a former member of the Diversity Coalition Board, I was one of the trustees. I can honestly add that the Diversity Coalition is very aware of the mission and the vision of the AdMeTech Foundation. So that's the important thing that had to be shared with the Diversity Coalition. Yeah. So at this point, I would like to turn this back over to Dr. Stearns so that questions can be addressed, and also with Dr. Ronnie DeLuz, a naturopath, and Dr. Bob Lakowski, who had some questions as well, and any of you who have questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andrade. I'd like to start by addressing Dr. Tanker's question. Why there is no education in high schools about what students can face later in life? This is a great question I do not have an answer for. So you found a question I have no answer for, but I think it's a very important question that repeatedly comes up at a number of educational awareness events we have. And I think it is really important to start education early, because not only for students themselves, but for students to young, energetic people to make sure their fathers, their brothers, their grandfathers will get tested. And I think this is the kind of question that is really important to ask of some school board.
Well, I
And
just
to
want to
bring
let you guys
physicians-
know,
and to
I
bring-
did bring it into the school board.
And this is really needs to be tackled to bring physicians. Hopefully, some of us may inspire high school students to embark on career in cancer research and education, in public health in general. I believe Dr. Bob has a question.
Yeah, I do. I had a comment first, Dr. Stern, about the Coach Tankard's question there. The young people are they got to be ready to listen, as you know, as a coach, to hear stuff. And so I don't know how well that all would work, but I do think that discussions like we're having here, and hopefully amplified through the recording and into Facebook, and that we can, if we speak as professionals and as lay people and as people like Mr. Roberts and Mr. Freeman speak out, there's an amplification that happens of awareness, and those little stories that they get shared in casual conversation over a cup of coffee, that may be more important than the school board chit chats, which can maybe dull stuff out there. So I'd encourage us all to chat about prostate cancer, and that will right away help awareness, and we don't have an administrative block on that. I do have a question though for Dr. Stern, and that is I talked about the high amount of prostate cancer. If you look at men's prostate, that seems to be like all over the place, and and one of the things that I've read about the equity issue is not only is there a problem of equity of the Black community and others in terms of getting appropriate care, there also seems to be getting care that isn't the appropriate care. So you get like the worst of both worlds. You either get like overdiagnosis and the wrong thing, or underdiagnosis and the wrong thing. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that. And a related question to this, because prostate cancer, the older you get, the more likely you are to have it. Okay, just keeps going up in age in general. There's some nuances on that. Are there any people who shouldn't have the PSA test, or you had it in the past and just skip it? Because now you're courting a problem here that you maybe you don't need to address. So those two things, the problem of overdiagnosis is, your thoughts on that, and is there anybody who shouldn't get tested?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. If we look at the studies of autopsies for men, just men who died from various reasons, not from prostate cancer, if we look at hundreds of these men, we would find prostate cancer in over 80% of men. And yet this prostate cancer never manifested, never had any symptoms. So as you pointed out earlier, figuring out what is the kind of prostate cancer that we should not be worried about, what we call harmless prostate cancer, although it probably sounds strange how cancer can be harmless, but there is a fraction of men who have prostate cancer that is harmless. It is not going to progress. It is not going to cause problem. And actually, what happened, how I focused on prostate cancer, I actually was a head of diagnostic imaging for the National Cancer Institute, heading all kinds of NIH-wide committee, federal committees, and my focus was primarily on breast cancer. And my branch led development, international development of everything that is standard today in advanced diagnosis of breast cancer. So by 1995, all these programs were underway. And that's when I got a call from my father. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I was absolutely shocked at first. It's my dad. I've been always very close to my dad. On the other hand, the next thing I heard, this diagnosis was made by accident because he had some symptoms of benign prostatic hypertrophy, which is very common among men 50 and older. So he was going for procedure to remove a part of his prostate for him not to have problems and symptoms that he had. And tissue was sent automatically for histology at Mass General, and they found prostate cancer. So at first I was shocked that his urologist I chose for my father missed his prostate cancer. He's one of the world leading urologists. He did not even suspect prostate cancer clinically. But when I talked to this urologist afterwards, he explained to me that my father had the kind of prostate cancer that would never cause any problems. That's why it was diagnosed by accident. Even his PSA test was normal. And that's when the whole shock of this situation made me realize that prostate cancer diagnosis was several decades behind breast cancer diagnosis in mid-90s. And that's how within a couple of years, I actually switched the focus of my career from breast cancer to prostate cancer, because I realized, yes, we had PSA testing, but PSA testing was extremely sensitive but non-specific, meaning that it would be abnormal not only for cancer, it will be abnormal with a lot of benign diseases. It will be abnormal in the face of trauma to the prostate. And only like 20% of men who had biopsy actually ended up to have prostate cancer, and only a even small fraction of this men ended up having prostate cancer that needed any kind of medical attention. So before we had accurate diagnostic tools, we had incredible problems with unnecessary biopsies, with very extensive unnecessary biopsies and unnecessary treatment on one side. On the other side, because we did not have accurate imaging and we had blind biopsies, we underdiagnosed and undertreated life-threatening prostate cancer. And when there was an explosion of controversy around, let's say, mammography screening, film-based mammography, my leadership of NCI came to me and they basically asked me what we should do about all this controversy and all this fighting of various physicians around screening mammography. And I explained to them that the choice we were facing, either we spend all of our time fighting, or we will spend our time focusing attention and resources on development advanced diagnostic tools. And what I saw in prostate cancer in mid-90s in the case of my father, because of my father, that men did not have the most fundamentally reliable diagnostic tools. So we created, unfortunately, NCI was not willing to invest significant resources in this research. So we created AdMeTech Foundation to lead the world in developing accurate diagnostic tools for prostate cancer, so that if men's PSA testing is abnormal, we actually will know, is it benign condition? Is it prostate cancer? What kind of prostate cancer it is? Is it prostate cancer that will never cause problems? Or is it prostate cancer that needs immediate treatment because it will be life-saving? There is also, as usually in medicine, there is a gray zone between men who don't need any treatment, who need just careful observation, what you call active surveillance, and between men who are at very high risk of dying of prostate cancer and need immediate treatment. And this gray zone, even with current diagnostic tools, we are not always sure that what about the risk of this man, but we know it's a higher risk than men we send for active surveillance, and it's a lower risk than men we are sending for immediate treatment. For these men in this gray zone, what was developed incredible proliferation of molecular and diagnostic tools, molecular and genetic cancer profiling, so that we are no longer looking for this man just at histology, at this microstructure of cancer. We are looking at biological property. And what we started seeing, that within the same histologic pattern, there are different types of biological progression that can be predicted. So, and of course, we also have advanced imaging that helps with guiding the needle to the right part of the prostate and actually guiding the appropriate treatment through staging. We have MRI, we have molecular imaging, as I mentioned in the presentation. All this proliferation of accurate diagnostic tools made it possible for us to figure out which men with abnormal PSA need biopsy, which men do not need biopsy, which men with abnormal PSA and based on biopsy result would need treatment to save their lives, and what kind of treatment. So, and as Mr. Freeman described, even for advanced prostate cancer, right now there is the incredible choice of treatment. And I, for one, Mr. Freeman, was so happy for you that you have access to Pluvicto treatment, however expensive it is, because it's a very effective treatment. Two years ago, my friend was dying of prostate cancer. We knew his life depended on access to Pluvicto. And at that time, all the clinical trials closed. Pluvicto was not approved. We could not get access for him to Pluvicto. This is one of the reasons for me to be so passionate about prostate cancer equity program, so that every man who comes to us will get the best care that's available today. Did I address your question, Dr. Bob?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
So if I were to summarize what I said, and I actually mentioned this in my presentation, there is such an incredible development of diagnostics and therapeutics right now that all past concerns about PSA screening are no longer relevant. And without PSA screening, however, we cannot initiate all of this clinical care cycle. One of the first observations we made when after several dozen of men who came to prostate cancer equity program, how many of these men who were advised to have biopsy, for example, did not end up having biopsy. How many men who were advised treatment, they came to our program for a second opinion, they did not need to have treatment, because we chose physicians who have access to the best diagnostic and therapeutic tools available today. Okay. Any other questions? We are already at 8:40 p.m. I will turn it over back to you.
I was saying people are learning so much. There's so many things to learn about this. And as soon as somebody else presents an entity, it triggers something in your mind to ask another question or to think about that or to move forward. And I can only say that each year we learn so much, and it's so valuable, and we have to get the word out. People have to learn about the AdMeTech Foundation and what's available to them. It's so, so important. Yeah.
And we have a great team.
Thank
We are really lucky to have a great team. Craig, do you want to sort of close the discussion about prostate cancer equity program?
I don't really know what to add here. I mean, this was a great conversation. And you know, some of the words that come to mind when I was hearing this conversation was one, you guys are experts and doing a great job at outreach. putting the word out there, getting connected to folks that need the information. You guys are rich in knowledge and skills to actually address the issue as well. You have the resources behind you, and you have an action plan. You know what I mean? Like it's like a well-oiled machine. And I do really appreciate the personal testimonies there. I thought those, in addition to like the practical clinical science medicine behind this, those personal stories really touched them. I'm starting to get a little choked up as I say it, but they really moved me though. Like that is really powerful stuff. And from those, I gathered a message of hope, perseverance, a healthy community that with connections, and yeah, perseverance. So this was a great session. I thank each and every one of you for all of your varied and very valued contributions. And I look forward to seeing you all around sometime. This was great.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, guys.
so much. This has
Yes.
been fabulous. And I want to
Yes.
thank each one of you for being here.
Thank
And
you.
remember, every year this happens. And if I need to ask for support for letters to go to our legislators to keep the fundings going, don't hesitate to back me up, and Dr. Stern and others, the whole team. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, AdMeTech team.
Peace.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Have a
Good night.
great evening.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thanks, Ronnie.